Hello, and welcome to the 404 Media podcast, where we bring you unparalleled access to hidden worlds, both online and IRL. 404 Media is a journalist-founded company and needs your support to subscribe. Go to 404media.co. As well as other bonus content, subscribers can hear us answer their questions in future podcasts. Ask us anything you want on podcast@404media.co. I'm your host, Joseph, and with me are 404 Media co-founders Sam Cole.
Hi.
Emmanuel Mayberg.
Hello.
And Jason Kebler.
Hi.
Sporting the iFixit sweater. Very
and
nice.
The hat.
I'm sporting a new 404 Media baseball hat.
We're not selling iFixit shirts.
We're not. No.
Jason, describe the new merch for people. I guess this is the first time we're talking about it, so go ahead.
Yeah, it's our logo. It's the happy 404 dead page logo.
Uh-huh.
We need to name him. Did we ever name?
Yeah.
It was 404 Dude, something like that. Yeah, I mean, maybe we can formalize it, but they come in black, the baseball cap, which I'm definitely going to be wearing. There's a terminal green. Is that what it's called? That's a pretty good name.
Terminal green is sort of what I've been calling it. I guess it could be called hacker green as well, but it's very close. I don't know if you did the exact hex codes, if they would be exact Pantone.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
exact hacker green, yeah.
Hacker green, but it's close.
And then we also have a beanie, I think, as well. That's just in black, right?
That's just in black, and that one's exclusively for hacking or skiing.
Yes. You can actually, if you want, you could cut little eye holes in it, pull it all the way over, and then you're really hacking or blogging or whatever it is that you do, you know?
Now we're really robbing a bank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so where can people go get that? I can never remember the URL.
Oh my God. You can get it on our merch store, which I believe is shop.404media.co.
That sounds right, considering I have to handle all the DNS and stuff.
I just got a 404.
Oh, lovely.
Store? No.
What's the Shopify?
You should go to 404media.co, and at the top there's a button that says merch, and you can click on that.
Yeah.
But it's 404media.myshopify.com, but you can't miss it. It's at the top.
So it's at the top of the website. Go to the website, and it's at the top. And
it says merch. And
I will go into our domain registrar panel, and I will fuck around with the DNS, which I hate. It's the worst part of running a website. They say this in InfoSec, right? If there's ever a problem and you don't know what it is, it's DNS. And that's true even when you're trying to sell a beanie or a baseball cap.
Yeah, it's always DNS unless it's Shopify has an outage, which literally it did the other day. So I couldn't ship out some of these because the site wouldn't load. Oh. And I was like, oh, something's wrong with my internet, or something's wrong with, I messed up. And then I looked at, and for once in my life, it was actually a Shopify outage. I had found a bug.
Well, hopefully when people go buy these, that won't happen. But as for this week, we have a few stories to talk about. The first one we're going to touch on is one that I wrote, which is called AI Cameras Took Over One Small American Town. Now they're everywhere. I guess I'll explain what this small American town is. It's Starkville, a small college town in Mississippi. Population is about 25,000. Very traditional sort of town. And the local police department, not a state agency, just a local PD, they start having these conversations with a company called Fusus, Fusus.
And I thought it was Fusus.
I watched a video and
Fusus?
Fusus, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I know, but now you're emphasizing the U. It's making me really paranoid. Because you think it's fusing stuff together.
I thought it was Fusus.
Oh
yeah.
God. Well,
because it's fusing.
Emmanuel's nodding.
You listen to it.
I'm nodding because that's what I thought as well. I've never heard anyone say it, and I was wondering how you're going to play it, and I believe you played it wrong.
I've been reading it, Fusus.
Yes. We are like the only podcast in the world where nobody actually knows how to pronounce it. Okay, where I don't know how to pronounce anything, every single episode we have to bring up something. It's like, I've never said this word before in my life. I swear I was right, but whatever. I'm going to say fusus, okay? If you want to disagree, you can chuck an E in there, make it fuse. I don't care. Whatever. So
that's a different way than you first said it. You said fusus, and now you're saying
fusus. There's
fusus.
like more syllables every time we say it.
And then there's fusus.
I'm gonna okay.
Leave it in.
Oh no, this is all in. This is part of the journalistic process. I'm just saying, as I tell this story, maybe it's going to change. You know, it's not material to the story.
It's not.
Okay. Okay. So, what does this company offer? Maybe I'll just avoid saying the name for the entire episode. So, what does this company offer? They offer the ability for a police department to tap into CCTV and security cameras around an area all at once. So ordinarily, I don't know, you'd have a security camera at a liquor store. You'd have a security camera at the library. You'd have one at City Hall. You'd have a video doorbell camera from a resident or a business or something like that. Usually they're siloed, right? They're not connected in any way. They don't talk to each other. If the police want to go and get data from one, they just have to go to whoever owns the doorbell, that sort of thing.
I feel like that's a time-honored tradition of police work. It's like you go to the 7-Eleven and they're like, take you to a back room and you pull the VHS tapes and you look at the crime there. And that's no longer the case, as you're about to explain.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's like the bread and butter of a lot of police work, exactly, almost regardless of the crime, right? But now, instead of going to the 7-Eleven and requesting the data, Fusus brings all of this data together in what they like to say is one pane of glass. So there are two ways they do this. Either they show on a map where all the cameras are and the police can automatically request the data because they've been connected to the network, or much more interestingly and controversially, law enforcement can get a live feed into those cameras if they've been added to the network. So, I mean, there are photos of this in the piece. There's one where there's 2 long conference tables and then 4 monitors over the tables, and it's showing a map of where all these cameras are. Theoretically, somebody using that platform could just tap in and start looking through those cameras at once. It qualitatively changes what a security camera means in the 21st century, or more specifically 2023, 2022. And police don't have to now go to those individual locations. They can see them all at once, all the time. And then just the other thing that they do is that it adds AI to these cameras. So maybe in the 7-Eleven, there was just a dumb security camera. Now, Fusus adds AI-powered capability to it, where it can scan for guns, it can scan for somebody with a bag that's red, some sort of characteristic, or it can scan for quote-unquote people, depending what that means is... It sort of depends what that means in a specific context. But what ends up is that you have towns which now have all of their security feeds pumped into one location all at once. And I mean, the piece just walks through that. It walks through what this means. The privacy experts that I spoke to, somebody from EFF, Beryl Lipton, they're asking questions about how long is this data retained, who can access it, all of that sort of thing. And the piece is based on hundreds of documents that we got through public records requests, obviously not just with the Starkville Police Department, but we went, I don't know, a very shotgun approach, a very widespread, and I just filed public records requests with tons of police departments around the country. This is something that me and Jason often do, where there'll be, I don't know. Well, Jason, how would you describe it? We see maybe a local news report in one place, and then we make it broader. Like, how would you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit in our FOIA forum, which you can check out if you're a paid subscriber. But basically, I file early and often is sort of how I describe it. And yeah, there will often be a local news story about a specific technology or specific technology vendor. And we then go and file a Freedom of Information request with that city or town. But then surveillance companies like to brag about all of their government contracts very often. And so very often on their website or their YouTube, you will see them explaining which different cities they've partnered with. And I don't know if that was the case with Fusus, but like a lot of mine are that way, where I hear about it in one city and then I will go to the website of that security vendor or surveillance company and see like often they have a list of cities and towns that they work with, police departments they work with, city councils they work with. And then another way of doing it, and I don't know if you did this with Fusus either, is you file a FOIA request, and often surveillance companies, like cities are very rarely want to be the first to do something. And so in their pitch, surveillance companies will often say, hey, look, we are already partnered with Topeka, Kansas, and Riverside, California, and Annapolis, Maryland, and all these other things. So in the FOIA docs themselves, you can often see which other cities they've partnered with, which then gives you sort of like other cities to go and talk to.
Yeah, exactly. In this particular case, I almost did none of the above. Whereas you were taking like a more systematic, methodical way of doing it, I literally typed in police department into Muckrock, which is the platform we use to file FOIAs, and then just did it to a ton and ton of different police departments. But then from that, yes, I got some emails where it's like, hey, we've already spoken to this agency, and then you FOIA that agency, that sort of thing. So beyond the Starkville Police Department ones, I got a ton from Columbia, where they actually push back against this Fusus deployment. The sort of current status of it is a little bit unclear, but that was interesting in that when people go read the piece, they'll see that there's this almost case study that we've done of Starkville PD where they're seemingly loving this technology. They're really, really happy with it. And then there's Columbia, which have pushed back on it with residents saying, look, we don't want this. And I think that, like, I haven't seen like the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, like a national newspaper, jump on this company much. And maybe they're working on it, or maybe I missed it. But the point I'm trying to make is that these discussions are happening at like a local and even like a hyper local level, similar to another technology we covered called Flock, which was automatic license plate reading, and that was like homeowners associations buying it. So whereas on one end, usually it's the DHS or FBI buying facial recognition technology and trickling down or something, this is the business is happening on a community level. It's almost the other way around, because I mean that is actually the point of this technology in the first place.
Yeah, I think that this is a really important story. I think it's one of the most important stories we've published for a variety of reasons. I think it fundamentally changes what it means to exist in public, which, you've sort of noted in a couple other stories like the TikTok facial recognition one. But it's like back at Motherboard 5 years ago, we wrote about this company in South Africa called Vumacam that was doing something very similar in Johannesburg. And when we published that story, people were like, this is crazy. It's like a surveillance state, a police state. You have these smart cameras that you can track a person from one camera to another camera. And there's like basically one sort of command center where someone is watching this, and you can go back and pull it, and you can, like there's often AI involved, as you mentioned, where there's object recognition. It's kind of unclear whether there's facial recognition in Fusus. It's like they sometimes talk about it. Can just leave it out for now. But it's like this fundamentally changes police work and how this sort of thing works. And it's just like migrating from city to city and town to town in the same way that we saw Ring cameras migrate from city to city and town to town, where Amazon would create all of these partnerships with local police. And it's something where instead of just having public cameras like owned by the police and owned by the city involved, it also takes private cameras as well. And so it creates this big surveillance net that in the case of Starkville, I mean, there's hundreds of cameras in this town of, I believe, 20,000 people. It's either 20,000 or 40,000 people. It's a small town, as you mentioned, 25,000 people. And there's hundreds of cameras there.
Yep.
And
480 now, apparently.
Yeah. And so another point that is discussed in the article is like the people who are connecting their private cameras to this need to pay to get like Fusus, like sort of the internet technology, like the smartifying of their cameras to connect to it. And after we published this, some people have said, like, why would anyone do this? Like, why would anyone pay to create a surveillance net when they're not the cops? And to that I say, have you been on Nextdoor ever? Have you
Right.
been on Neighbors? Have you been on Twitter? Have you like watched Fox News or seen anything that's sort of happening, the sort of discussion around what's happening in our cities and sort of like towns, blah, blah, blah. It's like there's a narrative that, which is false, that everything, that crime is up, that everything is more dangerous. And if you go on Nextdoor, these people are already obsessed with surveillance. Like people will post footage from their Ring cameras and be like, look at this quote unquote suspicious person walking by, and it will just be like a black person walking in their neighborhood. It's like,
Right.
it's really scary stuff. And so this takes that and connects it directly to the police. It's very scary in my opinion.
Yeah. And I should just clarify, like, the reason I covered it is because, sort of ironically, all of these cameras were in silos. I think the discussion about this technology is being done in silos. It's being done town to town, and this town won't even know about this other town that's had it, or maybe the people in the city council have never heard of this technology before. I mean, my hope is that us bringing a bit more of a national overview of what's going on, there can be a bit more of a national conversation about people even want this, and you said that, well, you were mentioning that Starkville has lots of cameras now. I said 480. I mean, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which did a similar project a little while ago, they found that nearly 150 jurisdictions are customers of Fusus. And then there was an IPVM report that said that Fusus has helped network more than 33,000 cameras across 2,400 US locations. I don't think those locations mean specifically like a town or a village or whatever it is, but it's expanding. And then it's also international as well. It just opened an office in the UK, I think, earlier this year. So this sort of thing has gone from a local conversation to a national one to ultimately an international one as well. Go ahead.
Sorry, one more thing. I know we've talked about this for a while, but I'm kind of obsessed with how these stories work, and also I'm really obsessed with local government. And this is a really good local government story, as you said. It's like they go town to town, and each town buys it. And we have written a lot of these types of stories over the years, where it's about how surveillance technology spreads from town to town to town. And there's a variety of different ways that it happens, but there's things like police conferences where, the police chief of a certain town will go to Washington, D.C. and see all these gadgets and get pitched all this stuff, or they'll go, they're not always in D.C., they're all over the country. And often surveillance technology companies will have one of their clients, like a police chief from a random town, talk about how they're using that technology. And so they're often the police are serving as sort of quasi spokespeople for these surveillance companies. So there's that aspect of it where cops are learning about it from other cops on their like cop listservs and cop conferences and like Zoom calls and stuff like that. Like we've seen that time and time again through the FOIAs. The other thing I'll say is that police love gadgets. Like they just love it. We've seen it in like dozens of emails where cops are like, wow, this technology is very cool. So they'll go to these conferences, they'll see this tech, and they'll be like, wow, this is cool. We can use it to catch bad guys. And then they'll go back to their town and they want to be seen as innovators in the policing space. And so they'll be like, oh, we can be ahead of the curve. Like we can be better than, like Pawnee can be better than fucking whatever the other one, Parks and Rec is. Sorry. It's like Springfield can be better than Ogdenville or whatever. In the same way that I'm just mixing my comedy show metaphors here.
Uh-huh.
In any case, it's like they go to city council and they say, look at this cool technology. And then city council doesn't know what's going on. Like they don't understand the privacy implications of this. However, many city councils are beholden to their police departments because people want to be safe. And so if the police chief says, hey, we need this, it's often just like a rubber stamp. It's just like, wow, this is cool. Let's buy it. Let's try it. And then suddenly your entire town is networked with surveillance cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, can I present my findings? I've done some reporting myself
Wow,
in the last few minutes.
You did reporting live on air? Damn,
Yeah,
this is it.
I'm unveiling an investigation
He
here.
did
If
his
you
own
can please
research.
view the first 3 seconds of this video in the
Okay.
chat, I would
Yeah.
like to conclude my investigation.
Okay, I have to watch an advert first.
We'll talk about that later. We'll talk later about why you have to watch an advertisement on YouTube.
Okay, so the video is yes from the company, and it says Fusus. Is that right?
Is that right?
I can't even remember if I was correct or wrong now. I literally can't remember what I've been saying.
You were wrong, and then we landed on the right one.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got there independently, and I'm just confirming.
Thank you. Wow, this is journalism right here. This is what people pay for. All right. Well, let me take us to a quick break, and then when we're back, we're going to talk about how a very similar story to surveillance cameras springing up around America. It's about how a bunch of people who bought NFTs burned their eyes out or something.
I would say this is the most important story that we've done in the history of 404 Media, honestly.
It's important. I'll give it that. Look, all right, I'll take us out and be right back after this. And we're back. Yes, this story is by Sam, and it's called Couldn't See Anymore. Bored Ape Conference Attendees Wake Up with Searing Eye Pain, Vision Loss. The Bored Ape context here is obviously all those NFTs that were big, last year? 18 months ago? Something like that. Yeah. And now the market has crashed. And they had a conference, I think, in Hong Kong. Sam, what's the timeline here? What happened?
Yeah, so Bored Ape Yacht Club still going somehow. They launched in 2021, which is crazy to me. Feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they launched 2021. These little NFT monkeys that I'm sure everyone has seen.
Everybody
showing
owns
them on late night. Everybody's got one. No, not really. I mean, they cost thousands to millions of dollars to own a JPEG of a monkey, an ugly monkey.
Cheapest one at the moment is $52,000, down from a high of, it looks like 10 times that.
If you subscribe at 404media.co, we will finally buy a Bored Ape, and we'll go completely insolvent, and we won't be able to do this anymore. But we'll have a JPEG.
We will screenshot a Bored Ape, and that will be ours. Yeah, so that's kind of the context that you need, is people spending a lot of money on little pictures of monkeys that were on the blockchain. So there's a big conference in Hong Kong thrown by Yuga Labs, which is the parent company of Bored Ape. The conference is open to ape holders / apes is what they call themselves. And it was from November 3rd to 5th. So it's what you would imagine, just looking at the videos and the images, a crypto conference for a failed NFT company would be. It's a lot of black lights, a lot of lasers, a lot of DJs doing sets in front of young white guys just standing still with a cup in their hand. Just really good shit that I would definitely fly to Hong Kong for. But on the last day of the conference, attendees to the conference started tweeting about how they were waking up in the middle of the night, some of them with horrible searing eye pain, and some of them had vision loss. Some of them were my skin is burnt. I mean, I can just read some of the tweets that we collect, because there was a lot of them.
Yes, please do. I mean, just before you read those, I guess it's we log on what was it, Monday? Yeah, which so just after, and we start seeing all of these tweets, as I think a lot of other people did. But you went and collected a bunch of them, and go ahead, read out a couple of them.
Yeah, so I mean, one of them said, "I woke up at 4 a.m. and couldn't see anymore. Had so much pain and my whole skin is burned. Need to go to the hospital." The doctor told me the UV lighting of the stage did it. It has the same effect as sunlight. Still cannot see normally. I just want to clarify before I keep reading, because I am going to giggle a little bit. I'm not laughing at people's pain.
No.
It's I think a lot of people's reaction to the story was extreme schadenfreude, because it's people who pushed the concept of NFTs so aggressively, and they were like, "You're a fool. You're missing out if you're not buying these. Everyone buy one. It's so cool." And they got taken for a ride,
Yeah.
and the entire thing fell apart.
It's like an
So
NFT fire festival sort of
yeah,
thing.
exactly. And that they're still going to. They're still happy to be there. So I think I was very careful not to make fun of these guys in the reporting because people did get hurt.
Yeah.
But I mentioned that they can't mosh for shit, and someone was like, "You're so mean." It's like, I'm sorry, that's just journalistic fact.
You're taking a very easy shot at something that's actually a little bit harmless. Like, you're not saying, haha, look at these people, they got seriously hurt. Come on, man. It's fine to say it's a lame conference, because it definitely was a lame conference. Yeah,
it was a lame conference. I wasn't there, obviously. Maybe it was sick. But and another thing to note is, before we keep going, is most of them are fine. The ones that we talked to are actually fine. The condition that they had is something that is not permanent. We can get into that. But yeah, they're not permanently disfigured from this experience. Anyway, so someone else said, same here for me and my +1. I had eyeglasses, so I was a bit spared, but skin is burned. And I had the same issue with my eyes. Someone else said, I've been to a lot of concerts, festivals, Burning Man. Never have I ever experienced fucked eyes like this. Someone else, my favorite one was, someone said, thanks for the great Ape Fest logistics, guys. Yuga Labs and Bored Ape. Incredible event and met plenty of amazing people. Still, as dozens of others, I've almost lost sight this night.
right.
It's like, if I went to a conference and woke up one night and couldn't see anymore, I wouldn't be like, amazing logistics, you guys. I loved my time here.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one. It's
so good.
Crazy. It's posting in hopes that my friends suffering the same issue realize they need medical attention ASAP. Incredible event, and met plenty of amazing people. Still, as dozens of others, I've almost lost sight. It's just like and then at the end, it's like, great conference, much love.
It's okay to criticize them. You're allowed to criticize, but they're not doing it. It's like, if someone nearly blinds me, I'm going to criticize them, even if I'm part of that community. Yeah.
I'm pissed.
You touched on what it was exactly, and it was the UV light, right? And
they think, no one knows for sure.
Yeah, let's go into that in a second. But there's one reader who follows us for a while, not Dan, and I haven't reached out to him to verify this. I just saw it come up in my notifications, but he posted a couple of photos that are pretty useful in response to our article, and he has his own UV light that he's showing. And he says, UV light from LEDs is insanely strong. Flashlight here can cause second-degree sunburns, quote unquote, if shined on the skin long enough. Just because the light is invisible doesn't mean you aren't seeing it. That goes for UV and IR. Both can blind you without you seeing it. Of course, it's going to depend where you are in proximity to the light, all of that sort of thing, the strength of that as well. But it just looks like this was a catastrophic fuck-up, basically.
I saw someone, and there's a lot of theories going around. A lot of them, most of them are like, it was definitely something to do with the lights. One person said that it was possible that they had bought UV lighting that was meant for disinfecting surfaces and not for lighting a room. And you look at these pictures, and a lot of the rooms are just black lights, like the purple, everything's purple. It's like they were just sitting under disinfectant lights for hours, maybe. Crazy. Is there a statement at all from the parent company? Or Bored Ape Yacht Club, like their Twitter account, tweeted about it, which I guess is now community noted, which is funny. But they said that they were, I just saw that actually. They were aware of the eye-related issues that affected some of the attendees of Ape Fest, and have been proactively reaching out to individuals since yesterday to try to find the potential root causes. And they estimated that less than 1% of those attending and working had the symptoms.
Oh, there you go. That's fine.
Which, sure, if 1% of your attendees walk away blind,
just people with weak eyes and weak skin.
Not gonna make it. So while nearly everyone has indicated their symptoms have improved, we encourage anybody who feels them to seek medical attention. And the community note is just clarifying that people got skin and eye injuries such as sunburn and temporary blindness from this. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are like, what about my medical costs? Like I went to the hospital in Hong Kong. Like I went to urgent care, whatever it was. And,
and they wouldn't accept a bored ape as payment, presumably,
no,
when you're trying to pay the bills.
I mean, I don't know if anybody tried, but that would be pretty good if they did. That'd be another story.
Jason.
So what some people said that they had was photokeratitis, which
are we going to talk about surfer's eye?
Is
I forgot he was
colloquially known as welder's eye, because welders get it if they don't wear eye protection, and also as surfer's eye, as you mentioned. And I've had it. And
because you're a big surfer, that's
as
the
someone with surfer experience.
I've had it from all my welding.
Listeners may or may not know that Jason is a big surfer, which I'm very, very happy for him. But he brings it up at every single opportunity he can.
I don't.
And now he's doing it on the podcast.
Do you wear sunglasses in
I don't
ocean?
bring it up pretty much ever. Almost no one knew this. No, I tried to get sunglasses, but no one wears sunglasses out there. It's like you look like a nerd. It's very upsetting. But the big thing is that they'll fall off in the water. And in any case, it's very painful. It is painful. I had it for about a week and then it went away. I went to the eye doctor. The reason I got it is because the reflection off of the ocean is like stronger than just staring into the sun, or it can be in the same way that you can get sunburnt while you're skiing because it like the sunlight bounces off of the snow, similar with the ocean. And I bring this up mostly to say that I surf, but also it's super, super painful. It's very hard to like keep your eyes open. And then also it is usually temporary. So I had it for about a week. I went to the eye doctor. They were like, yeah, don't stare at the sun. It will go away.
Great medical advice.
You have to rest your eyes? Like you have to like wear anything?
I mean, I just wore sunglasses anytime I went outside for that week, and I didn't go surfing that week, and I put in drops like constantly. I was putting in drops like every little bit. And another thing I like to talk about is that I got LASIK, so I don't know if that made me more likely to have this, but
laser straight into the eyes.
I see Joseph and Emmanuel wearing glasses, having to wear tools. Sam, I believe he's like contacts.
I wear very thick glasses. I wear contacts, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, you would have fit
throwing that out there.
You would have fit into this Bored Ape conference because the whole cryptocurrency laser eye things. You have laser eyes.
I have laser eyes, and if I went, I would have definitely gotten this because I think my eyes are very light sensitive.
Right.
Perhaps because of the LASIK. So
okay, well, if you want Jason to go to the next one, I certainly do. So
buy me an ape.
Yeah, well, that or subscribe at 404media.co.
So
and I'll buy my own ape.
And we'll send Jason over. All right, we'll move on from that. If you're listening to the free version of the podcast, you'll now hear me playing us out. But if you're a subscriber, it's time to talk about how a refund gang managed to scam $700,000 out of Amazon and all the other techniques that they use as part of refund fraud, including what I found particularly interesting, malicious insiders at Walmart as part of the refund process. So you can subscribe and gain access to that content at 404media.co. Actually subscribe for that, not for the stupid thing about Jason going to an ape conference. We're not doing that. I'm going to veto any sort of travel approval for that. As a reminder, 404 Media is journalist founded and supported by subscribers. If you wish to subscribe to 404 Media and directly support our work, please go to 404media.co. You'll get unlimited access to our articles and an ad-free version of this podcast. You'll also get to listen to the subscribers only section where we talk about a bonus story each week, and then you can steal our ideas, apparently, from that subscribers only section. This has been 404 Media. We'll see you again next week.